We all have our personal form of torture. For many of us, it was the isolation during COVID-19, wanting to know how long we're going to be stuck inside. For some, it may be the soul-sucking void of meaningless affirmation that is social media, or not having access to a phone. For me, it is the torture of writer's block, whether it's writing for videos on this channel or even personal writing. I know the story, I know what unfolds, where it ends, but somehow, putting it on paper becomes a barricade of communication. I try to take on the technique of rewarding myself after a chapter, or perhaps distracting myself, and inspiration will eventually come. There's the usual things like reading the classics of Poe and Shelley, watching the works of Burton, or perhaps my recent interest in playing board games. Whether it's protecting a village from classic monsters, although is it bad to say that I secretly want the monsters to win this time? Helping a Disney villain achieve their goals, because, let's face it, they are the most interesting characters. Of course, I've already shared their goals on my channel, along with how to take over the holidays with Jack Skellington and Sally. But then it dawned on me. With the release of the trailer for Wednesday Season 2, I have yet shared the instructions to play Wednesday the Hyde's attack. Take on the role of your favourite outcasts to protect fellow Nevermore students against the monstrous threat that is the Hyde. Want to know more? I know the suspense is killing you.
So, in order to set up the board, the first thing you'll need is the centre of Jericho, which is Nevermore Academy. And then you will have 5 other locations on the outside, and you just pop them randomly around the academy. So we've got the woods, the Pilgrim Village, Jericho, the crypt, and the art shed. Now you can see here that each location has a certain restriction. So for example here, it doesn't allow siren cards, or siren cards are worth 0 and werewolf cards are worth 0. In Jericho, any cards that have the value of 4 is now 0 in this location. In the crypt, anything worth 3 is 0. In the art shed, B cards are 0. And the woods is you must move if you have started your turn here. So you can play from up to 4 characters, and you have a choice of playing Wednesday Addams, Enid, Bianca, Eugene, Yoko, and Ajax. And you pop whichever 4 characters you are going to play at Nevermore Academy as your starting position. Then you will have your Nevermore deck, and you will place it in the draw pile. So, what are in these cards? Well, each one correlates with each character. So, for example, Wednesday has the card with the eye on it to represent her psychic abilities. Enid with her werewolf card. Bianca with her siren card. Eugene with his bee card. Yoko with her vampire card. And Ajax with his Gorgon card. Okay, so in order to set up, you will randomly place these student cards that look like this on the target spaces on the board. And as you can see, these, they have like a certain instruction that can help you. So for example, vampire cards are worth +1 if you use them at that location. Or for example, this one here, if you have a card with a value of 1, it's now a 3. So the person who is to go first is the player who is wearing the most black, and the person who is going last will be having their helpful hand, which is Thing. And Thing will take the top card and pop it in front of him like so, so only the player who's using him will actually see it. So during each round, all players take a turn going clockwise. On your turn, you can take these actions in a specific order. So you would move your pawn to a location. So, you know, it would have to be adjacent, obviously Nevermore is the centre. So once you're on the board, you can start moving around adjacent. You don't have to move once you're in a location. However, the only exception is if you've started your turn at the woods, you have to move. So you can stay in your location if you want to remain there. You play, so each player will have 4 cards in their hand. So I'm just going to pretend to be Wednesday in this scenario, and I am at the crypt. So you play 1 power card from your hand, unless your character ability tells you otherwise. So these are my cards here. So if I'm at the crypt, 3s are worth nothing, but 2s can be 4. So you decide which card you want to place down, and you plop it down so the other players can't see it. So even though it's a co-op game, you're not quite trusting the other students, so you're pretty much doing it secretively while you all have that one common objective, and that is to defeat the Hyde or and protect the students. And then once you've placed your card, you pick up another card, so you're back up to 5, unless your character ability tells you otherwise. If you have Thing in front of you, you can send Thing to another player if Thing is in front of you, so yeah. So basically, when Thing is in front of you, you can use, instead of the cards in your hand, you can use whatever card is in his hand. So let's say that one looks like a pretty good one. So let's say, for example, Eugene is the last one to go, and let's pop him here. So he can see that Thing has a vampire card, and the student says a vampire is worth an extra point. So instead of using the cards from his deck, he can place the card that Thing has on his go. Then when he picks up the card to the full deck, he can either take that card for himself or pop it on Thing or pop it on Thing. So he can put any card in his deck in Thing's hand to replace it. And then any cards will get discarded, if there are any. So once everyone has gone through their turn, this is when the Hyde will start to move. So the Hyde is in these little tokens here, and on the back is each location on the board. So what you're going to do is you're going to pop them all in this Nevermore bag, and you are going to have a good shuffle and see which one you get. So you've got the one with the crypt, so you pop that in front on that location. So now you know the Hyde is not going to be at that location. Then you take your turns again, and you keep revealing each location until you get pretty much down to the last one. So it looks like the Hyde is going to attack the Pilgrim Village. So what you do is you place him. So what you do is you take the cards in that area and pop them down there. So how exactly are these cards going to help you defeat him? Well, there is a little scorecard. So with each end of the round, depending on how many players you have to equal to that amount in order to defeat him. So if you had 4 players on your first round, you would have to score 28 points in order to beat him. Or if you're thinking that you're an expert, you can try a little harder. As you can see, the further down you go and the more players you have, the more points you have to score. If you've managed to defeat the Hyde, the student is safe. If you haven't, and you haven't gotten the score that you need to, you would flip the student card over to say that they have been attacked. And then once that's done, you basically go through another round. So you go through 4 rounds. In order to win the game, you must save at least 2 targets. When you lose 3 targets, the Hyde wins and you immediately stop the game. Now, each character actually has their special ability to help you even further. So let's go through this. So, Wednesday, when the cards are revealed, swap a matching card from your hand. So you're able to swap for a better card, but it has to be, I believe, the same type of card, I believe. I'm just going to double check that. Okay, so you can either switch the same value. So let's say let's say we're here, and the student, and there happens to be, let's see. So let's say you revealed the cards, and one of the cards at this location is a 3. Oh, sorry, wrong one. So let's say one of the cards that you've revealed at this area is a 3 Wednesday card. Now you've realised, now Wednesday looks at her hand, whoever's playing Wednesday, and they can see that the student has a +1 if it is a Gorgon card. And she actually has the same value, a 3, so she can swap that round. So now it actually becomes 4, so that gets you an extra 1. You can also do the same with, so let's say you've got like a Siren card with a strength of 5, and you have a strength of 2 in your hand. You can switch those cards, or, well, to be honest, you do it the other way around. So that's Wednesday's ability. Enid, if she is in the same location as the location that the Hyde attacks, you can +2 strength, obviously, because she's a werewolf and she can attack him even more. So Bianca has something very special. She can use her special Siren Song cards. So she's gonna have two Siren cards that are a value of 6. If you are thinking, oh, I'm not doing very well at this particular location, she can swap, she can discard a card in her hand and play the 6 strength instead. However, once you use them, that's it, they're going to be discarded, and that's the last time you're going to play it. So use them wisely. Eugene may play a card on the location to your left or right. So if, let's say, Eugene was here, and then obviously he's had to move, but he really wants to put a card down in the woods, but he's had to move because that's the power, he can actually pop a card down there or into the crypt. The only exception to the rule is if a student is in Nevermore and it's their turn, you cannot pop a card down, even Eugene, who can do an adjacent. So basically you kind of want to avoid going to Nevermore, but sometimes, you know, if you know certain locations and you can't get to it in time, sometimes you have to go back. Yoko can draw back up to 4 cards, then discard 1. So she gets to see an extra card and choose which one she wants to discard. So at the end of your turn, draw back up to 4 cards and discard a card of your choice. So she gets to see a little bit more there. And Ajax can play any number of 1s on your turn. So that means if he had a loads amount of like 1s in his hands, so let's say he's got like, you know, 3 out of 4 cards in his hand that are 1s, you can pop them all down in that one location. So that is Wednesday the Hyde's attack and how to play. So I'll be honest, the rules are pretty simple. It's a pretty simple game to follow as far as the instructions are concerned, but I will admit it's a little bit harder than I thought. So you might, even though you've got to keep things in secret, you know, you outsiders have to do a pretty good job of being able to, you know, sense each other's wavelengths and whatever, because us outcasts, we have to stick together. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in Burtonland very soon. As I said, I did watch the teaser trailer for Wednesday Season 2 and I'm very excited. And I did write some notes down, so before we start the how to play the Wednesday board game, the Hyde's attack, I'm just going to share my little notes. Okay, I'm trying to remember what I wrote down now. Okay, these are the most randomest things I wrote down. I said, I like the way that they paralleled the beginning of season 1, but instead of at a high school, it's at an airport, and so that was a really good opening for the trailer. I don't know why, but I really love the coat that Wednesday has on in the airport. It reminded me a little bit of Barnabas Collins' coat for some reason. Maybe it was like the collar or something. I'm in love with the dress that Morticia was wearing with like the red underlayer underneath. Oh god, my god, I would die for a dress like that. 3, I really like that Pugsley is now coming to Nevermore. I feel like Pugsley kind of gets the shaft a little bit when it comes to the Addams family, so hopefully this will give him a little bit more attention. And I was like, oh, he's got like sort of electric powers, and I was like, oh my god, of course, it's like Uncle Fester. And I really liked that because in some ways I always feel like in a lot of iterations, like Pugsley kind of really looks up to Uncle Fester. So I thought the fact that he gets similar powers to him is pretty cool. I thought Joanna Lumley looked great. I'm glad that she's working with Tim Burton again, since the last time was Corpse Bride. I thought that she was actually going to be playing like the main grandmother that we see in the Addams family, but no, she's actually playing, from what I know, Granny Frump, which is Morticia's mom, and so I was like, oh, her look actually makes a lot more sense, so I'm really excited to see what she brings. Okay, so it turns out that Steve Buscemi's character is going to be the new headmaster, and while I will miss Gwendolyn Christie, I really loved her role in season 1. I do think that Steve Buscemi really fits into the world of the Addams family, and again, great to see him working with Tim Burton again since they worked on Big Fish. I don't know why I wrote this down. This is just a personal preference for me, but I just loved the shots of seeing Gomez and Morticia waltzing. I don't know why, but every time I see them waltzing, it tickles my brain. Maybe it's just because it gives me hope that there is love out there even for us weirdos. And 7, this is probably my big one, it looks a lot darker and it seems to be leaning more into the horror, judging by the trailer. It seemed, as I said, a lot more darker, it seemed a lot more bloodier, so I'm interested to see that. On where it goes. Obviously the Hyde seems to be coming back, and I don't know, theory, it seems as though, is Wednesday going to become the new Master of the Hyde? Who knows? But I guess only time will tell. And I really do like that they're actually splitting it in 2 parts, so in August and September. I think having it released all in one go seemed a little bit... I wasn't a huge fan of it because I watched it all within one day, and then if you wanted to see my initial reaction, the videos down below in the description. But when I actually sat down and watched it again, but took my time with each episode, I think the season got better. So I'm glad that they're actually doing it in 2 parts this time.